All right. Well, hopefully everybody's still listening. Let me see. Oh, I see people. Randy. Make sure I got 4 of you there. Okay, we got everybody, I think, back. So it's 7:30. We will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7:30. And as I get things going here. All right, we're recording. We're live. We'll call to order again 7:30. We'll start with prayer and the pledge. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And roll call.
Let's see. Cosgrave's not here.
Cosgrave will be absent, and Hamilton will be absent.
Okay. Foreman?
Yes. Present.
Hankinson?
Present.
Keller?
Present.
McCreary?
Present.
All right, that gives us 4, which is a majority, so we can have a meeting. All right, approval of minutes.
Okay, Mayor, I read them earlier today, and I didn't see anything wrong. I move that we accept the minutes as emailed out to everyone.
Foreman seconds.
All right, discussion on the minutes. Roll call.
Foreman?
Yes.
Hankinson?
Yes.
Keller?
Yes.
McCreary?
Yes.
All right, minutes will be approved as written. Next is the agenda. There are 2 small amendments in that we need sponsors for the first readings tonight, 2021-04, which is the ordinance to amend Chapter 1048, the snow removal of the codified ordinances. And I couldn't remember who mentioned this is the one, Terry, came out as safety, but we're still waiting for some info from the chief, but we went ahead and we're having it done for first reading.
Correct.
All right, so who would like to sponsor this one from safety?
I'll do that, Mayor. This is Bob.
Thank you, sir. And then the second one is ordinance 2021-05, which is the parking during heavy snowfall, amending the parking map, which also came out of safety.
I guess I'll do
that one too.
Huh?
Yep, I said Bob sounds like he'll do that one as well. Thank you.
That's fine.
All right. Those were the only amendments I had. So is there a motion to adopt as amended?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Foreman seconds.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay. Foreman?
Yes.
Hankinson?
Yes.
Keller?
Yes.
McCreary?
Yes.
All right. 4-0. We have an agenda. No visitor emails. So I'll lead in to village administration reports, and my report. My first thing I want to mention has to do with emails. I went back through, since we've been doing these via email, to double check. But what I noticed with my email in particular was when it switched over from the old system to the new system, there were several, and by several I mean quite a few, emails that for some reason were not delivered to me before. I'm seeing them for the first time. There were also several emails that were sent, but the recipients apparently didn't receive them, and they were sitting in the to be sent folder when they transferred them over. So I think I've gone through everything at this point, and to check. Fortunately, I didn't see any emails where someone had emailed in for a public comment, but there were some that were sent out. So, you know, I don't know if that was only happening with me. It started around December 14th or 15th, I think was the date. Some came through, some didn't. I wish I knew why there was a rhyme or reason, but now that we're switched over, as we saw in the last meeting, Terry sent me an email and 10 seconds later I had it. So working much better. And it sounds like there came in another one. Speaking of emails, is ABC's working to get everybody's tablet out to them, and we have the Office 365. Eventually, I know some of you guys use your personal emails. We're going to get switched over to the village emails, in as much for your protection as everything, because it's bothered me for years. But the Ohio Sunshine Laws, and in the yellow book, it basically says if you're using your personal email for village email, we have to catalog that. We have to retain that. It's subject to public records, all of that good stuff. So if Terry gets a public records request for someone about, I don't know, a potential building, and one of you email with that person, we don't have that because Terry doesn't have access to the personal email, where when it's on the village email system, it does. I know some of you use your own email for a while, so it's not going to be like a, hey, at some point we'll have a cold turkey switch over. But you know, we've got some logistics to work on that. But just know that we want to make sure everybody's tablet and email and stuff on that is running good and everybody's comfortable with it before we do that switch over. But it is a public records potential issue. So since we have the technology available to us now, we want to make sure to make full benefit of that.
Yeah, Mayor, can I stop you there a minute? I mean, I would kind of like to do a cold turkey switch over for myself personally right away. Are they able to still copy my Gmail account and not make that part of the public record? Or do I have to cut that off?
That would be one of the things that gets cut off. It's still going to happen. So what I do, because I occasionally get emails at my law office for village stuff, what I do when that happens is I forward it to my village email, and then I respond from my village email. That way, if there's a public records request, it's there on the village email server, and Terry has access to be able to pull that.
As long as I respond from my public email, I'm fine. I can receive, but I should not respond.
Correct.
Okay. The sooner I can do a cold turkey switch, the better I would like it.
What I'd say is maybe get with Terry and Barb, because the account should already be set up. So it'll just be a matter of.
Okay,
it'll just be a matter of
I don't think
it.
she sent all the meeting things to my public account today, or for this meeting.
Okay.
I don't think.
All right.
I would still like them copied to my Gmail, so that, because I'm on my Gmail all the time, but I'm not on this public one all the time. So I'd like it sent to both so I see them, but I don't think they were sent to my public one, at least as far as I can tell.
Okay. So, but yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Get you switched over quickly. And anybody else that wants to do an immediate switch over, let us know. I know Mike has some reservations with that to getting switched over, so we want to make sure everything goes easy with that switch. So, but sooner, it's coming soon. Moving on, I haven't seen or heard anything yet this week, but Rojo, which is the new restaurant where the deli used to be, at least as of a couple weeks ago, was going to be opening this week. I believe tomorrow. I haven't seen anything recently on it. So at least that was the postings I was seeing. Speaking of, I did have a conversation with a local business owner that has an idea to do something within their industry. but would bring some attention and potentially people to Baltimore. So I'm still talking with them in a planning phase to see, make sure this can work out. If so, if we can make it work this year. If it does, I think it'd be really cool. So I'll let you know if that looks like it's going to pan out this year, and can get you some more details. Let's see. Monthly county mayor's meeting is later this month. I'm doing a presentation on mayor's courts and nuisance properties. Not the code, well, kind of the code enforcement nuisance properties, but the nuisance properties once they progress past code enforcement to where we're actually filing civil actions against the properties to either take them over, to give them into a receivership, or to bulldoze the property. There's a monthly health department meeting this month. That's coming up. So I should have some notes on our local contributions, what they might change for the following year. We've got to set a public hearing for the ducks ordinance. I want to do that at 7:15 on March 22nd, so right before our next council meeting. But Terry, if you can hang out after the meeting for just a couple minutes, I need to set some dates because we need to test how this public hearing will work on Zoom with everyone. Not that I'm expecting a lot on ducks, but we have other public hearings we know we're going to have come up in the future, so this will give us a chance to work out the kinks. And then lastly, over the weekend, the federal government passed the COVID bill in there. At least the last I looked at it, there was $350 billion for municipalities. I'm not sure if our allocation is going to stay the same that we talked about at the last meeting, if it's going to change, or any restrictions that we may have on it. But it looks like there's more money coming to municipalities. So assuming that it has to be COVID related, if you see something around that we can use, let Terry know so we can get it on the list, because I hate to give back money. And that's all I have. Any questions? All right, moving on. If you got questions, ask later. Gary.
So I just want to reiterate what the mayor said. If you see anything that you think is quote unquote COVID related, let us know. And to his point, I've read what's out there to read, and I agree with him. We're going to have restrictions. So hopefully we can find or be able to spend that where it'll benefit the residents. The only thing I wanted to add to the mayor's comments is, because I've talked a lot tonight, is that we did attend I attended the planning and Fairfield County planning meeting on the property out on 256. If you remember, that is where Mr. Klum would like to put jumbo storage units. There was quite the conversation about it from residents that are around there. The commissioners did vote to disallow or not approve the change in zoning. But what that means is that now it lies with Walnut Township. So while the commissioners disapproved it, it'll be up to Walnut Township as to what they want to do. So that's all I'm going to say, unless anybody anything for me, just because I did so much talking this evening already.
All right.
Well, Terry, you said something about COVID money. The swimming pool is a community thing for kids and whatever. I guess you can word things different, that we were trying to open the pool for the kids to be safe and everything. Could we somehow, we ever get any more COVID money put in the swimming pool?
Of course, everything goes into my head right now. I'm thinking fence at the water plant. I'm thinking, cameras at the wastewater plant. I mean, there's a whole lot of things. But I think, Chuck, we're just going to have to take a wait-see attitude. One of the things I do not want to do, as the mayor said, is to give any money back. I want to use every penny we can possibly use. I know my husband, at first at his village, they thought they had everything and they gave money back. The trouble with that is then you don't get any new. They think you have everything you need. So I want to try to use, and I will be as creative as the law allows me to be.
Okay.
The beauty on the new COVID funds is why there's out there, and there's likely to be restrictions at both the federal level and the state level. I've heard representatives and senators say that it is recognize that it is hard for us to spend that much money within some of the constraints they have previously set. So hopefully they won't be as stringent with this round.
And you know what, I want to chime in because I just thought about what Chuck's question was. You know, if we, we spend the money fixing up the pool and later on we find we have a lot of money, we could have used it to help fix up the pool. I think there'll be a provision somewhere, there should be, that we might be able to pay ourselves back for that. I'm not sure 100% sure on that, but I'm just thinking that possibly could happen.
That'd be great. I think it just boils down to just give us the rules and regulations so we can get started.
So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have at least a little more clarity on that. All right, anything else for Terry? All right, Brian.
Let's see, the only thing I have is last week, I received an invoice from Covalin for, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the grinder pump out on Holder, is that correct?
That is correct.
The $5,000 one?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, it slipped through our cracks and I never issued a PO for it. There is money to pay for it. Now we will invoice the person building out on Holder Road to recoup this money. However, I need to pay on this invoice. And because I need to issue a then and now certificate and it's in excess of $3,000, I'm going to need council's blessing to pay this invoice.
And you actually need an ordinance for then and nows.
You actually need an ordinance.
Right.
You do?
Are you?
Yes.
We can do it by motion?
I do them all the time in another municipality. You have to have an ordinance for a then and now.
Oh, great. Okay.
I think if you want to be able to get started on it, I think a motion will be okay. But the then and now has to be approved via ordinance.
Well, then we'll have that for the next council meeting, but
and I'll just reach out to them and tell them what has happened and they'll be understanding because we buy our grinder pumps from them. They'll know we're good for it. So we'll just table this until next council and then I'll get with Jeff.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Next is Solicitor Jeff. He sent in his stuff. For those that don't know, his father unfortunately and unexpectedly passed away over the weekend, which is why he is not with us tonight. But he did send in some information. He says on first readings for ordinance 2021-04, the snow removal, it's been through committee, no emergency language. It can go to 3 readings. It can be amended as council desires, and that's the one that we'll have another safety meeting to be able to further discuss once we get some additional information on as well. Mm-hmm. First reading on ordinance 2021-05, which is the heavy snowfall. It's also been through committee. No emergency language, can go 3 readings and can be amended. Second reading on 2021-03, the urban chickens. It needs to go through 3 readings and have a public hearing, which we just set. No need for emergency adoption on that. And then the tabled ordinance 2021-01, the permanent appropriations. If updates or adjustments are reviewed and approved by finance, the ordinance can be untabled and then approved. If the updates, adjustments aren't reviewed and finalized, it just needs to remain tabled. I think we've got all that taken care of, so we'll be able to untable that tonight. So that was Jeff's notes he sent in. Finance Committee.
Okay, Mayor, we had our finance meeting tonight. Of course, Brian went over the finance for, and the committee passed his reports. Then we went into the appropriation that's got to be passed tonight. We want to take $50,000 from the general fund and put it in the street fund so the street fund can get all their projects up to date, get their done. We also talked about buying a new service truck with a not extended cab, but extended cab up, not long, but high, so we can, they can put cameras up in there on a table so they can do their work while they go out and put cameras in the lines. That would be somewhere around 60, close to 70,000. So we decide, borrow $70,000 over maybe 4 to 5 years loan. We also talked about the swimming pool, where we want to get it fixed this year so we can open it. And that's also going to cost some money. So we're going to move some funds around, somewhere around 26,000 from the general fund to the pool to get that fixed so we can open up this year. Like I said, everybody was on tonight during the committee, so I don't know if there's any questions or not, but that's my report, Mayor.
All right. Any questions? All right, moving on then to service.
That's Wade.
Wade's out tonight. So service hasn't met since the last meeting, and their next meeting is set for March 22nd at 6 p.m. And so safety. And Mike is
okay.
out.
Our next meeting.
Sorry.
Yeah, our next meeting is the 22nd, right after service.
All right.
That's
And
26.
rules.
Did he say 22nd or 26th?
22nd.
22nd.
Okay.
All right. Rules.
Okay, Mayor, we met tonight. One of the biggest issue we talked about was the cemetery, where we need to go in there and make some changing on how some of the policy we have for the cemetery, because someone went in and put a big slab down, and it's going to make it tough to mow. So we have to get into that issue. Also, in a new business, we talked about part-time help this summer, and Terry, the village administrator, would like to have 2 part-time help this summer months. Finance and rules will meet again next month, April the 12th at 6 o'clock. That's my report.
Any questions for rules? All right. Public safety reports. Chief.
Trying to get unmuted here, Mayor.
There you go.
We've got 2 guys in training, 2 new officers in training. One is, and obviously it's based on the number of hours before they can work on themselves. One is putting in a lot of hours, so we should have him up and going pretty soon. As you know, Officer Deskins is now with Madison Township Police, so that left a pretty big hole in what we have available. The property room, we've had some not really issues, but with Dave Wolfel being off, he's in charge of our property and he's in charge of our evidence, and he's just now starting to get back up to swing on that. So that's coming along quite well. Last Friday and then today, Dylan Clark and I were at the elementary school handing out the COVID workbooks for all of the kids. Basically what it is, it's coloring book, activity book, and it breaks down what COVID is, how to stay safe, how to keep other people safe. And it's at a level aimed directly at elementary kids. A lot of times they just simply don't understand some of the things they hear, and hopefully this will help out. The school was a big help with that, so we certainly appreciated that. It's been rather busy. We've had in the last month we've had 2 deaths we've had to investigate. One has come to conclusion. The other one was Sunday, and we're still waiting on results back from a coroner's office on that one before we can move forward with that. And other than that, I think that's all we have for right now.
All right. Any questions for the chief? All right. Fire district.
Okay, we haven't met since our last council meeting. It's the 3rd Thursday of every month, and it's at 6:30. And I'll have something for you after the next meeting.
Sounds good. Moving on to community commissions and committees, planning and zoning. We haven't met since the last meeting. Our next meeting is this Thursday, the 11th. And we'll continue discussing the short-term rentals. Tree Commission.
Tree Commission is also due to meet this Thursday. We probably will focus on our spring planting plan, and so more to come at the next meeting on that.
Records Commission, waiting to confirm dates. Obviously, Jeff's been not available, so getting that set. But he need to clear date with him. So
I will say,
right.
Mayor, I will say,
Yeah.
Mayor, my list is ready, except for just adding a few water and sewer, but it's pretty much ready on the
Awesome.
RC3.
Good deal. Well, in that case, once Jeff gets back, I imagine he'll probably be out most of this week. So next week, I'll try to touch base with him if he's back and see if we get a date set before the next council meeting. Get the date set, not get the date set and have the meeting before the next council meeting. Let me clarify. But good deal. So now you're waiting on me. All right. Motions, resolutions, and ordinances. Any motions? Hearing none at this time, we will move on to ordinances, resolutions. First reading, ordinance 2021-04, which is an ordinance to amend chapter 1048, snow removal of the Baltimore codified ordinances. Sponsor is Hankerson.
Yeah, this is for the first reading. I wasn't needed any more this year anyway. So, but anyway, this whole ordinance is to it kind of shows the priority of the streets to get plowed first and salted first, and kind of tells the residents that how to clear off their driveways so that the snow doesn't get pushed back into them, and keep the mailboxes areas clean. So that's pretty much the whole ordinance.
All right. And so we'll leave it on for a second reading March 22nd.
Correct.
All right. Moving on to ordinance 2021-05, which is an ordinance amending chapter 452.18 of the Baltimore codified ordinances, parking during heavy snowfall.
Okay, I am the sponsor of this ordinance. This one here it lists the streets that there will be unlimited parking on during the snow emergency, which this ordinance has a list of the streets, and it kind of clarifies who is in charge of the making the emergency. It could either be the mayor or Fairfield County. That's pretty much, that's the ordinance.
All right. And we'll leave that one on for a second reading as well, correct?
Correct.
All right. So that one will come on again for second reading, March 22nd. Moving on to second readings, ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance to amend chapter 1272.20, planning and zoning code, general development standards, urban chickens, the Baltimore codified ordinances. Sponsor is McCreary.
Hi, yes, Mayor. I'm the sponsor of ordinance 2021-03, which, as you've mentioned, is to amend ordinance 1272.20. This ordinance is in regards to expanding the ordinance that's currently in place for urban chickens to including ducks. So, Mayor, that's my understanding. That is ordinance 2021-03 up for a second reading.
All right, and that one will come on for a third reading on March 22nd, and we'll have a public hearing on March 22nd. All right, third reading, none. So that brings us to tabled ordinance 2021-01, which is the permanent annual appropriation ordinance of the village for 2021. And sponsor on that one is Keller.
Okay, Mayor, at this time, I move that we move from the table ordinance 2021-01.
All right.
Second, Hankerson.
Thank you. I believe that's primary, so it doesn't get discussion. Roll call.
Foreman,
No discussion tonight, right?
On untabling one, I do. Well, you get
Oh,
to
and
discuss the
untabling,
motion.
yes, okay, yes.
Yeah.
okay. Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So it is moved from the table.
Okay, Mayor, tonight I'd like to amend this ordinance 3 times. I'm going to do it one at a time. So first, to amend the ordinance, I move that we take $50,000 from the general fund to the street fund to complete their projects that they need to do for 2021. So I want to amend the appropriation with that amendment.
And just for clarification, so we're going to transfer $50,000 from general fund to street fund and increase the appropriations in streets by $50,000.
That's correct.
Okay. Motion, is there a second on that?
Foreman
Mayor.
seconds.
All right. Second from Foreman. Discussion on the motion to amend. All right. Hearing no further discussion on that, it was discussed in finance. Roll call.
let's see. Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
and McCreary.
Yes.
All right. So that portion will be amended.
Okay, on my second amendment to the appropriation to purchase a service truck for $70,000 to be borrowed for 4 to 5 years at a low interest rate. I move that we amend the appropriation to add that to the budget of the appropriation. I can't remember, Brian, you remember where you're gonna, you need to move from one, oh, I know what it was, the sewer debt fund and get the money from there in the water debt fund, is that correct?
Well, no, what we need to do is increase revenues and appropriations. If we're going to do a 70,000, 35,000 each in those two water and sewer funds.
Oh, sewer fund, okay.
Okay. There should be enough money carryover to cover the cost of the for the debt retirements in the water and sewer debt service funds.
So the motion then is to increase revenues and appropriations in the water fund and the sewer fund by $35,000 each for the purchase of a utility truck.
Yes, that'll cover the proceeds for the
Okay.
loan and the related payment to pay the bank will pay the whoever, Coughlin and the other company.
Is there a second on that?
Foreman seconds.
All right. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
All right. Motion to
Okay,
amend.
Mayor, I want to amend the appropriation one more time to fix the swimming pool this year so we can open it. We need the bottom of the swimming pool needs to be redone. I'd like to move that we take money from the general fund to put it into the pool fund, $26,000.
And of
All
course,
right.
appropriate that in the pool fund, correct, Chuck?
Yeah, didn't I say that? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
Foreman seconds.
All right. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Okay, Foreman,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
All right.
And
Amend-
Mr. Keller,
amend-
I'd like to, can we talk about Brian's homework that he did between the meetings for the second person to increase the appropriations? for the
Oh,
second-
that's right. Okay. Yeah. What did you come up with, Brian?
Okay, what I came up with, because I budgeted for one part-timer. The majority of their work's gonna be out of the street, probably the street, water and sewer. So I divided that 3 ways. So you're looking at an additional roughly $6,100 in each of those funds to cover his wages, his retirement benefits, as well as Medicare costs.
Actually, don't they mostly mow cemeteries and parks?
The other part-timer is gonna be helping Peg out.
This one is to help the street department with the new
Okay,
water
okay.
lines we're putting in and et cetera.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So Brian, you said additional 6,100 in each street, cemeteries and parks. So that's a total of 18,300.
That'd be right. That'd be an additional 18,000. Now I divide that 3 ways in those 3 funds.
Right.
Okay, so that'd be another amendment in to the appropriation. I move that we take 6,100 from the streets, the cemetery and the parks line. I guess you want to call it line item. Is that a good
I'll have to increase them.
increase them
Acres and
3
not taking
line
from
items?
them, yeah.
Okay. I move that as a motion there, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Is there a second? And then we'll have discussion and I'll ask my question.
Foreman seconds.
All right. We'll open discussion. So Brian, this increases the appropriations on those. Do we need a corresponding general fund transfer or do we just need to increase the appropriations for those 3?
Well, that's a go.
Unit.
Let's see. We were removing 50,000.
And we needed 44 in streets.
We needed 44. That's pushing it. That might. That's a good. I forgot to factor that in. Let's see. Let's see. 90. We're in a deficit in a street fund. Hold on here. I got okay.
Brian works well under pressure.
I hear the calculator in the background. I feel like I'm like in an old movie with the CPA just pounding the old calculator.
Yeah, we're gonna need a little more money from the street, into the street fund. Let's see, 40. We're transferring 50,000, right?
Yes.
Right.
Then I calculate 9136 negative.
So wouldn't it be 56,100 if we're just adding 6,100 on?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said, wouldn't it be 56,100 instead of
No,
50,000?
because you only needed 44 or 44 and change in streets, and we gave it a little bit of cushion. I mean, we could and to keep the cushion, but it might not. And then double check cemeteries and parks as well, Brian.
Well, my calculator's acting up. It's an old calculator and I can't hardly see the daggone thing. Let's try this again. We're 9136 in the hole right now. We were adding another, that street project was 36,000, right? 35,000?
36.
Yeah.
36,000. So that's
38.
Why Brian's adding that up, I gotta go grab a power cord. Otherwise our meeting's going to end.
So, and then we just added on 6,100. Unless I cut about $1,250 from the existing budget now, I guess the street fund will need more money.
How much more, Brian?
Right, I calculate about $1,250.
1,250. So
Yeah.
really, instead of the 50,000, you need 51,250.
Make it 50. Make it 50. 5,200 to be safe.
52,000.
1,000.
50,000. 52,000. Sorry, yes.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, the water fund's going to need help. The sewer fund can handle it.
Yeah.
The water fund will need some help. Yes.
How much,
6,100. It'll need at least 1,000 or 500 to cover it.
Okay. Good catch, Mayor.
All right. So I was plugging in, hopefully someone is writing down the numbers for an amendment here.
Yes. 52,000 from the general into the street, and then $500 from the general into the water.
52,000?
We
Well,
were going to do 50,000, so
we're
this
just
is-
increasing
All
it
right.
to.
Just added 2,000.
But that, okay. Well, we already did that motion to amend in the past, so this will be a motion just to do an additional 2,000.
2,000. All right, I
Yes.
see what you're
Okay.
saying. All right, that makes it easy. 2,000
2,000 in the,
to the streets, 500 from the general to the water.
all right.
Okay, so I'm going to amend the appropriation, which is be the fourth time, $2,000 from the general fund to the street fund and $500 from the general fund to the water fund for the purpose of adding 2 part-time summer help.
All right. Is there a second?
Norman seconds.
All right. Discussion on that.
Do
Hearing
Brian
none,
for
roll call.
I'm sorry, what's that?
the street fund, I mean, the cemetery fund and the park fund, you have enough money in it to take care for the part-time, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I already budgeted for one part-timer to help peg out
Okay.
mowing. So
I just
everybody
want to make
been
sure
budgeted.
we got everything covered.
This is the additional part-time person that I did not have
Okay.
budgeted to help Tim
Okay.
out. Okay.
All right. So this roll call is on the transfer of 2,000 from the general fund to the street and 500 from the general fund to the water.
Yes, and increasing
Roll call.
those salary and benefit line items accordingly.
Well, yeah, go ahead and do the roll call on that.
Okay. Let's see, Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Hankinson.
Yes.
All right. So then that takes care of that. Okay.
Okay, we ready to adopt the ordinance now? Everybody ready? I move that we adopt ordinance 2021-01 with the 4 amendment added tonight to the appropriation ordinance.
All right. So motion to adopt as amended tonight. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Discussion.
Yeah, I would like to understand. It sounded like we put money in there for a one-time event. And when I see these things, it's like the money kind of just disappears at the end of the year. Like we budgeted for this one-time event, but then the money just kind of goes away. I'm just trying to understand why we have to budget for a one-time event when we have the money on hand to cover the one-time event. So I'm learning, I'm new. I just want to understand why we have to budget for a one-time event that may or may not occur. So I just need to learn, that's all. Is that?
Brian, that sounds like a you, if you want to
Okay.
take that real quick.
Okay. Rick, to answer your question, these are one-time events. If we didn't do these one-time events, I'd have to come back to council to amend the budget, which we could do however, the street fund was in the hole $9,100. So, and because the income tax revenue last year was all put in the general fund rather than the street fund. I don't want to hash that out again. I know everyone knows what council and what was decided upon last year because of COVID.
Right.
So
we didn't know what to expect. Got it.
But we wanted to make sure these projects that, if we didn't do it, Tim would have had more than enough money in the budget to cover these expenses. The problem is I can't turn a budget into the county budget commission in the negative like this. Does that make sense? So we had to fix it by increasing.
I think you're on the wrong thing. I think it's like part of the larger part of the police department increase is to cover severance pay for the chief. And I'm wondering why we're required to budget for that in fiscal 2021 when we don't know. And it might be 5 years from now. It seems like if we budget for that this year and it doesn't happen, the money just kind of mysteriously disappears. I don't know.
Yeah, it disappears. You don't
why that is or what the deal is there. Why we budget for something, a one-time event.
Before you answer that, Brian, when we say disappears, it doesn't really disappear. It goes back into the general fund for reallocation the following year. So it's not like we lose the money. It just goes back into the big pot that is the general fund. So
there's plenty of money there now. There's plenty of money there. So I don't know why we have to allocate
now
more.
I'll flip it over to Brian to tell you why we allocate like that for government accounting.
Okay. All right. Government in government terms. Now I know this doesn't. I don't know if it happens in the private sector very often, but with government employees, once they reach a milestone, okay, Rick, they are entitled to any unused vacation, sick leave, that kind of stuff. We have a policy that is made if an employee retires 10 to 20 after 10 years of service, they get 1/3 of their sick leave balance up to 960 hours. After 20 years, it's 2/3 up to 960 hours. And after 30 years, everything up to 960. Everything's on 960 hours. If by chance the chief would pull the trigger and retire, I'm not saying he's going to, he may not.
And that's fine.
It's nice to have it in the budget so I don't have to come back to you later to say, hey, we need to increase appropriations X amount of dollars. Well, in this case, my calculations say it's going to cost roughly $33,000. We're obligated to the chief of police if he would pull the trigger on retirement. Same thing with Tim. The same line item is in the street fund. Tim is at an age where he can actually pull retirement too. I'm not saying he's going to, but if he would pull the trigger on retirement, we are obligated to pay them their unused sick leave up to a certain limit on the maximum number of hours they have accrued. Because Tim's got like 1,500 sick leave hours. We only pay up to 960. And vacation and so forth. Now, the reason why it might change next year is because, Tim got a raise. I factored that in this year. Next year, if he gets a raise, I have to factor that in. It's just something that governments do to honor those who served our village.
And
And I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying, isn't there already adequate money there to cover this? Why do we need to earmark more when there's plenty of money already there?
Well, it's never been earmarked. It's never been earmarked.
Well, it sounds like we're trying to do that now. I just don't understand. I'm trying to understand.
What? No. So yeah, we're trying to do it now. We haven't done it in the past, but we didn't. I think Tim might have been eligible last year. I'm not sure. Like Brian said, it's something governments do, but it's a known potential expense for the year. So by appropriating it and saying this much money may have to be spent on this, even though we still have it in the budget, if our budget gets tight, it unfortunately prevents us from using it in other things that we need, because we may have to spend that this year. Come later in the year, if it doesn't look like it's happening, you can always change appropriation. And then again, at the end of the year, if it's not used, it goes back into the general fund to be reappropriated, however, next year as part of the carryover. But it's one of those, it's a known potential expense. So in government accounting, we identify those and budget for them and appropriate them out.
Even though we don't spend it, even though the chief may not retire, I won't have to write that big hefty paycheck at the end of the year. Or however, I don't know if I have to do it. I might be able to do it in thirds, but it needs to be budgeted just in case it happens.
So after this year, that money will kind of be over there earmarked, like we did this for this purpose, and that's what this money's for. We can't touch it. It's kind of, that's what this is for.
Well, at the end of the year, though, remember, if it's not spent this year, at the end of the year, that line gets zeroed out and that money goes back into the general fund. And then on next year's budget, Brian will have a new number for us to put in there based on the then income calculations.
Okay. That's the part of it that it's as though the money disappears. We're allocating it for something that may or may not happen, but it's as though the money kind of disappears. And it could be spent on anything. I mean, at this point, we've changed the budget, so now we could spend it on anything in the police department.
No, I can tell you that will not happen, because that is considered a salary type payment. And when you pass this budget, I turn in the county the salaries and all other sources, and that cannot be touched for anything else.
Okay. I understand the gravity of the situation tonight, and I don't want to be that guy. I just want to understand what we're talking about passing tonight.
Yeah. Government accounting is not always easy and straightforward.
Amen.
I think this is a good example, Mr. Foreman. So let's watch this money. Let's track it. So at the end of the year, if Chief doesn't leave us, let's track where the money goes. And then what I think it'll be a little clearer on it's there, it didn't go away, and now we're going to reallocate it. So we'll just keep that in mind so that Brian can have an explanation to say, okay, this much money we didn't spend for this. Now it goes back into the general fund, and now we reallocate it for next year. So we'll track it. I think it's a good example. Good question.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think that's helped me.
Good. Good.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, then we'll call for a roll call vote on the motion to adopt as amended 2021-01, the annual appropriations.
Who seconded it, Mayor? I don't remember a second.
McCreary,
Brandy.
Okay. Oh,
Brandy
Yeah.
did.
Okay, I missed it.
We got it, Brian.
All right. Keller,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Hankinson,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. 4-0, 2021-01 will be adopted.
Okay, I'll make the necessary changes to it, and I will pass it out by the next council meeting.
And by necessary changes, you mean only those that were approved by motion and amendment tonight?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Moving on then, nothing else for third readings or tabled. We will go on to old business. Anybody have any old business? All right. Hearing none. Is there any new business? All right. Hearing none. No visitor. Well, let me double check that email that came in. Nope, not a visitor email. It does not look like. So, anybody have any last call, anything to say? If not,
Yes,
our
I
next,
do. I
Oh,
want to thank
go ahead.
council tonight for passing the budget. I really do appreciate working together with not only the staff on this call, but also with the staff in the village, and they do appreciate it, and they will do you a good job. So thank you very much tonight.
all right. And they do a good job, the
Yes.
staff that is.
Yes, they do.
All right. If not, our next meeting will be March 22nd at 7:30. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we
Foreman
adjourn.
moves. Okay, Foreman seconds.
Okay, I think that was Keller first, Foreman second, but I think everybody said it. So all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Yay.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we will adjourn at 8:27. Thank you, everyone. Good meeting tonight.
Great meeting.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Night.
night.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night, all.
Stop the recording.